Hey guys, Kevin against me, another movie review for you guys. Now, this movie we're reviewing, I was actually really looking forward to this movie in a really shitty month of movies like August, because let's face it, August has been a pretty shitty month for movies. This was one of the ones that I was really looking forward to. I remember I saw the trailer for this movie. You guys can check out my trailer reaction for it, and it looked like it was going to be really great, and that movie is Z for Zachariah. Yeah, I was definitely looking forward to this movie for a couple of reasons. One, when I saw the trailer, I was very impressed by how different it was. It's, focuses on an apocalypse, but it's more about the human struggle and wasn't like The Walking Dead or I Am Legend or something like that. It is more of a realistic portrayal of the apocalypse, and I was really looking forward to it. The cast looked fantastic. It looked like it was going to be one of the best movies of the year. And after watching it, I will say that I did really enjoy this movie, but I was a bit let down by it. There were some things that I didn't like as much as I thought I would, and I felt the movie could have been a lot more than it essentially was, which I'll get into. Basically, the plot of this movie, which I still really do love, I think it's a fantastic plot. Basically, there has been this, basically focused on a post-apocalyptic world where there's been this horrible disaster that has caused all this radiation to grow. It wiped out most of civilization, and there's only three people left on Earth, basically. Our main character, Anne, basically has been living on her own with her dog, kind of making a life for herself ever since her parents went on this expedition search, basically, and she hasn't seen them ever since. And basically, one day she meets this guy, Loomis, who has been exposed to radiation. She decides to bring him back to her house, kind of help him out, nurse him back to health, and they start to get closer. But then this guy, Caleb, comes into their life and also wants, and also takes him and tries to make a life. And you start to see that Loomis and Caleb definitely start to compete for Anne's affection, and that's basically a plot of Z for Zachariah. Now, I definitely do have some problems with this movie, which I'll get into, but there are some things I really loved about this movie. I really do want to tell you guys this, that I didn't hate this movie by any means. So this was a really good movie, for the most part, and especially because our cast, there's only three people in this cast. There's only, three actors, and for the most part, I think the acting is great. However, the star of this movie by far is Margot Robbie as Anne Burden, who, I have to say, I really love what Margot Robbie's been doing with her career. Ever since The Wolf of Wall Street, she's been on this she's had a fantastic run. She's been a fantastic actress in some fantastic movies. But I think this is probably her most diverse role yet, because I think this is the first role where she doesn't try to look sexy. A lot of people have said Margot Robbie is this generation's Marilyn Monroe, and I can definitely see that, because when we think of Margot Robbie, what do we think of? Her nude scenes in The Wolf of Wall Street. We think of how sexy she looks as Harley Quinn. Is Margot Robbie a very sexy woman? Yes, she's very sexy. I will definitely say that. She's hot as hell. But I really appreciate her trying to be a more serious actress in this role as Anne Burden. Anne Burden is distinctly different than any role she's ever played before. She wears, I think, hardly to any makeup, which I think is really great. She did a great job making herself look as unattractive and innocent as possible, which I thought was definitely very well done. You really see this girl, Anne, as a girl that, she still has a lot of hope, and she's trying to make a life for herself, and she always talks about her parents and is hoping they come back one day, and I think she did a really great job, and she has to do whatever she can to survive, and she also has a lot of memories and things like that, and she really brought out the emotion and determination very well. She has some fantastic scenes in the movie, and I really feel Margot Robbie, this is definitely a step in the right direction of her career, and if you did not take her seriously before this movie, you will definitely take her seriously as an actress after, because I know people have said they can't take her seriously because she just plays sexy roles. Well, this proves to you that no, she doesn't. She plays a very different role, and she does a very good job. I thought she was fantastic in this movie. Chiwetel Ejiofor as well. I thought he did a really good job in this movie as his character, Loomis. I thought definitely the bonding between these two was great, and the way she kind of takes him in, kind of because she's lonely and doesn't want anyone else there. She wants someone else there besides herself. I thought she did a really great job, and the bonding between these two is fantastic. The way they get closer as the movie goes on, I thought was really great. Definitely he did a great job, and I also love the way his character comes in. Basically, he doesn't know. He thinks he's the only survivor left, and he doesn't even know if he can trust her. And it's really great stuff. There are some fantastic scenes between them, and they really had great chemistry. I honestly would love to see these two do another movie together because they definitely did a great job. My biggest problem with the movie, though, is Chris Pine as Caleb. It wasn't that his character was bad, or his acting was bad. It was that I felt his character was unnecessary, and that mainly is because the book that this is based on, Caleb is not in that book, neither is the whole love triangle storyline. When his character came in, I felt it just added a conflict to the movie that the movie really didn't need, and I felt he was kind of out of place and didn't really need to be there. The bonding between these three is great, but Chris Pine out of the three was definitely the weakest. I felt they could have done a lot more with his character than they did, and for me, I think out of the three, he was definitely underused, and definitely, which is kind of disappointing because he's a really great actor, and I wish they could have done more with him than they did, because I definitely feel he was pretty underused in this movie. But other than that, especially for a movie with three actors and actresses, it can be very hard to do, but they really pulled it off very well, and I think it worked out definitely in a very good way. Now, the directing I thought was definitely really great. I think that, Craig Sobel's directing did a really great job. You really see the dark and bleak world of this movie. He definitely did a really great job with that. The tone was really well executed. He gave a lot more of a hopeful tone that I definitely really loved. He also showed why this was important and made a great job of making this as realistic as possible. Like I said, the thing I was most looking forward to is the realistic tone of this, because I think if there was an apocalypse that was going to happen, this is probably what would happen. Honestly, what happens in this movie is probably what would happen. I think he definitely did a very good job with that, and his directing was really great. Definitely very, very good. I really enjoyed his directing in the movie. Now, the screenplay, I have the screenplay is the thing that I have a love and hate relationship with, definitely. There are some things I really loved about it, and then some things I really didn't like about it. What I really love, as I said, is the bonding between these three. The way they're surviving on their own, I think is very well done, and I definitely really enjoy that. There are some very compelling scenes between, Loomis and Anne. Like, he wants to go into a relationship with her, but he knows it's not really going to work because he doesn't really want to get attached to her. This is a world where they don't really know if they're going to survive, and I think that was definitely very well done. However, once Caleb came into the picture, it kind of ruined some things for me. It wasn't bad, I enjoyed it, but again, he just kind of felt out of place, and I didn't feel the movie was as interesting as it should have been, and I didn't even feel he needed to be in the movie. And yeah, I know his character kind of creates a conflict, but I felt the film should have just dealt with the human struggle that these two characters are going through, with them learning to trust each other and bonding, and less on these two men competing for her affections. Now, like I said, I get that Anne might be the last woman on Earth. I get that. I understand that, there probably isn't going to be any more women for them. But them fighting over her, I thought just became a bit too much. It's kind of out of place in the movie. It didn't really belong in the movie for me. And I felt like it just kind of gave this movie a much bigger conflict than it really needed. And it just got kind of convoluted, and I really didn't like that. And it's not too far in the film, it definitely is later in the film, but the last half definitely I didn't really like, and I didn't think were very well done. The first 46 minutes of this film, though, I will say, are fantastic. I was loving it. In fact, if the whole movie was the first 46 minutes of this film, I probably would have given it like an A+ or something, because I loved it that much. I thought it was fantastic, and then just once Caleb came in, it just wasn't as good. I did, however, like some things with Caleb's character, like Loomis not knowing if he should trust him or not. However, that also brings a problem to the movie. Why can't they trust each other? That's what I don't understand. If they didn't think there were any other humans left, really, and if they're really the only three left, what are they so scared about? Are they scared that they're going to expose them to radiation? I don't understand. If they're perfectly fine, I don't understand what they don't trust about each other. That didn't really make sense to me. That's something that I didn't think they handled very well. Yes, I understand it's supposed to focus on human struggle. They don't really do a good job of telling us the apocalypse and, like, what's out there and what they should be afraid of. It really didn't work as well as it should have, and I definitely didn't like that as much as I should have. And because of as I said, because of this love triangle, we don't really get too much about the apocalypse. What we do get besides the love triangle is really great, but it's just not as interesting as it could have been. The cinematography is another problem for me. The cinematography is gorgeous, this movie. There are some gorgeous scenes of these beautiful crops and things like that. The problem with this is that it felt more less of an apocalypse and less of all the electricity went out and they're just having to live like it was the olden days. That's what it seemed like to me. It didn't really seem like there was much of a threat out there, and because of that, I wasn't really filled with tension. I wasn't gripping my seat. I wasn't on the edge of my seat. I really wasn't worried for these characters, and I feel they definitely could have done more of them. Like, maybe one of them was on the verge of dying. There could have been more conflict than they had in the movie besides a love triangle, and I just didn't feel it was enough. And the cinematography looks great, but it just felt like it should have been a lot darker and bleaker, and I get that they're trying to be hopeful, but it didn't really work for me, and it didn't really seem to work, and I never really felt like, oh my god, what's gonna happen next? I wasn't like that with this movie. It was more of, okay, this is a quiet movie that actually has some fun moments at times, but just didn't really work. The score, however, I think is one of the best of the year. It's bleak, it's dark, it's beautiful, and I definitely really like that. Also, I didn't feel there was as strong as a threat to this movie as there should have been. Caleb, I feel, could have been a much better character had he had more interesting stuff to him. Like, maybe he had a really great plot twist, which he doesn't have in the movie. I just feel there could have been more they do with his character. Why don't they trust him? Why doesn't Anne trust Loomis when she first meets him? That's what I don't understand. And I just wish they would have answered that question more, and then maybe I would have liked the movie more. Because I ultimately really didn't, I have to say. And also, the editing, I think, was definitely pretty good. There were some really slow scenes. I'm definitely going to tell you guys this. There were some scenes I thought were way too slow and really dragged the movie down, especially once Chris Pine's character comes into the picture. Really dragged things down. And anytime the characters revealed stuff about their past, I didn't really care. I wish I would have, but I didn't, because I didn't find the characters nearly as compelling as I wanted to. I wish they would have done more with them than just this love triangle and them trying to trust each other. There could have been a lot more to it, and there wasn't. And I do like the smallness of this film. That's something I thought was definitely really great. There are some very good ideas in there. However, I have to say, I hated the ending. I really didn't like the ending at all. It felt completely out of place in this movie. In another movie that wasn't as dark and bleak, fine, but it just didn't make any sense. Like, I can't see how that ending makes any sense whatsoever, and I really did not like the ending to this movie very much at all, and it really didn't work for me. But overall, guys, Z for Zachariah was not as good as I wanted it to be. I felt like it could have been a lot more, but I still did really enjoy it. I thought it was a good movie overall. It's definitely not one of the best films of the year, not as good as I thought it was going to be. It does have a fantastic performance from Margot Robbie and Chiwetel Ejiofor, but because of Chris Pine and not having as much of a thread and things not being as dark as they should have been, the movie was not as good as I thought it could have been. And I'm going to give Z for Zachariah a 4.2, 3.8 out of 5, or a B. It's a really good movie. I did really enjoy it, but it just wasn't as good as I thought it could have been, and it could have had a lot more to it. But that makes my review of Z for Zachariah. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you guys saw this movie. You have seen it. I overall really did enjoy this movie. I just thought there could have been more to it. And I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for another movie review, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.